Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be BURAI Fighter, or BURAI Fighter. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This is I guess you could say it's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, although the game actually shifts direction. Sometimes you go vertically, sometimes you go downward, sometimes you go right, even though you're always, the camera's always focusing on you from a sort of like a side view perspective, traditional, side scrolling. It also has two top-down stages, which are completely different from the side scrolling shoot 'em up gameplay you see here, as demonstrated by the attract mode. It's kind of a cool game. I'm still not really sure how I feel about this one. I played it for the first time. Not really the first time, but I played it seriously for the first time last week. I played it on Twitch quite a bit. I have since completed the game on the stock default difficulty mode. There's actually 3 difficulty modes in the game. To get the best ending, you have to play in the hardest difficulty mode, which is actually quite a challenge. We're going to be playing on the stock default difficulty mode, just so I can show you guys through the game and what the game is like, and then if you want to experience this for yourself, you can try the harder difficulties on your own time. I'm actually not that great at the harder difficulties on this one. Maybe in the future, if I can finish, say, the hardest skill mode, I'll eventually come back and do a hard mode let's play of this. But right now, we're going to play on the stock difficulty mode. So this was actually done by Taxan, and for those of you guys that don't know, Taxan is actually the US arm of Naxat, N-A-X-A-T. So Naxat did a lot of stuff on like the PC Engine and so forth back in the day. Some really noteworthy stuff as well, such as the, I believe the Alien Crush and Devil's Crush pinball games on the PC Engine, which are pretty popular with retro gamers these days. So yeah. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the game. So Eagle is your stock difficulty mode, and don't get me wrong, it's still a decent challenge. We're probably going to die a couple of times throughout this playthrough, and you guys will see when that happens. Albatross is your second, Ace is your third. Ace is quite challenging. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And so BURAI Fighter, what's really cool about it is you can actually shoot in all directions. You fire with the B button. And if you hold down the B button, you actually lock yourself into place, which is how I recommend firing in this game. If you just mash the button, your aim goes all over the place. You've got a variety of different types of power-ups as well, and you have 3 primary forms of fire. You've got R, which is this sort of like ring-like attack. It probably stands for ring, but I'm not 100% sure. The ring attack actually goes through, or maybe stands for round, I'm not sure. It'll actually go through walls, which can be quite useful, especially later on in the game. Another power-up is missile. And then laser. Let's go ahead and pick up laser just so I can show you what that's like. So, the ultimate goal is to max out the firepower, and there's actually 10 levels of firepower in this game. It goes 1 through 9. And then it goes to letter A. So basically 10 levels of firepower. And at level 5 for each weapon, it upgrades into basically a 2-way type of shot, usually going behind you. And then when you level it up to level 9, it'll actually turn into a 4-way shot, with the exception being the ring power-up, which will actually turn into a 3-way spread shot forward, and then a single rear end shot going behind you. Now, what's actually kind of nice about the power-up system in this game, and this differs from a lot of other shoot-'em-ups, is that you don't have to pick up the weapon you're using to upgrade your weapons. So if I have the laser and then I pick up the R, and if I've got the R and then I pick up the laser, I've still upgraded both weapons by 1 level. So in a lot of traditional shoot-'em-ups, you have to select or pick up the exact same weapon you're currently using. Otherwise, you'll just switch weapons. You won't actually upgrade them. But in BURAI Fighter, you will actually switch and upgrade at the same time, which is quite nice. So if you want to just keep bouncing back and forth between different types of firepower, like I just grabbed 3 different ones, but my levels went up by 1 for each weapon, basically. So we're at level 4 for the ring power up, so what I might end up doing is just try to pick that up just so I can show you the next level of it. The S's are speed power ups, so they make you go a little bit faster. These little icons here, they actually fill up your meter on the bottom left hand portion of the screen. If the meter goes all the way up to the right and fills up completely, you'll notice it says extra at the end of that meter. That'll actually provide you an extra life. However, if you press the A button when you have at least one full block, it'll give you this nice bomb attack, which clears out pretty much all the bullets on screen, and yeah, it clears out pretty much all the bullets on screen, which is really, really nice. Very, very useful. And we just killed the boss. Now, if you're playing on the hardest skill mode, the bosses actually have more health. So the bosses actually take a good bit longer to kill. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong, the default difficulty mode is still actually pretty challenging. Bosses in this game are also a little unconventional. Like, as you saw with that boss I just fought, he actually has a form, or not a form, but a cycle where he just moves insanely quickly across the screen. And his arms just, you know, flutter around really quickly. And BURAI Fighter has a lot of things like that that'll catch you completely off guard if you're used to playing shoot-em-ups at all. So one strategy I like to do is not boost my meter completely. Extra lives are nice, but on the lowest difficulty mode, they're not really that necessary. As you can see, I've got 4 lives. I don't even think I've earned an extra life yet. And so what I like to do is just constantly use my bomb power up. Like, I can just keep using it like this. It just takes up one little block on your meter, and that's it. And then I'm going to kill more enemies that are going to give me more power-ups, or more little icons that'll help fill up my power-up meter. And something else you got to really watch out for in this game is enemies really like to come around, or come in on the screen from the sides. And so if you see a power-up like hugging one side of the screen, you probably don't want to go for it, because enemies are going to come out, and the game likes to troll you big time. And that was one of the most frustrating aspects of this game when I first started learning how to play it. Something else to note is the hitboxes aren't that great, and you'll find yourself dying when it doesn't look like you should have died. Which is definitely most unfortunate when it happens. So we're going to go ahead and just try to take it relatively safe here. Alright, so we just leveled up our missile a little bit farther. So we're at the second level of our missile weapon. Technically it's level 5, but the weapon itself doesn't change at all until you level it up to level 5. I think it would have been really nice if there were very subtle differences for each little minute level. Oops, I just boosted up my meter completely. So we just got an extra life, which I wasn't really intending, but I'm actually not too worried about it on this level. This level isn't that hard. It's the later levels in the game that you really got to worry about. Alright, so we're maxed out. Oh, it's level A when you go to a 4-way shot. Okay. But we're going to go ahead and just forego the 4-way shot. Oh, never mind. I picked up another laser power-up. So once you're maxed out, you know, getting the firepower options doesn't really do anything after that point. So, realistically, you want to try to upgrade to a different weapon, if you can. Alright, so this boss has these little weak spots. You need to attack the tail, or these weak spots to split it into another direction, basically. And then once you do that, you need to destroy the tails. The tails, or I should say the end of the tail, is the weak point. Alright, so now we're on our first top-down stage. And you basically start with this little mini-map up here. And you're the blue guy, and then the boss is the red icon up in the top left-hand portion of the screen. What's kind of interesting about this, and somebody informed this to me on Twitch when I was streaming this, is if you see the boss in the top left-hand portion of the screen, you probably just want to keep moving up and left. It's really confusing, actually, because the top-down sections, they just appear to just loop infinitely. The background just constantly scrolls. It looks like you're just looping the level over and over. However, if you just, no matter where you've moved to, if you just move to the portion of the map that it's supposed to be on, like the boss is supposed to be on, God, I'm not making any sense right now, because it is confusing. So say, even if you've moved, like, to the bottom right, or the upper right, really far, I have no idea how to explain this, man. So say the boss is in the top left-hand portion like it is here. Even if I moved all the way to the top right-hand portion, the game still wants me to move up left. It really makes no sense. So it's like the map doesn't actually loop, and I really have no idea how they're pulling that off. It's just kind of weird, and it's really hard to explain. So I'm just going to stop trying to explain it. Alright, so we're actually making pretty good progress. I haven't died yet. Of course, that can change very quickly. You've got these little options, or these like spiked balls that float around you, which is definitely very useful. And as far as I'm aware, these things just last forever. They don't go away until you die. And something I haven't really mentioned yet either is when you do die, you only lose your ball power-up that's floating around you, as well as whatever primary weapon you're currently using. So like right now I'm using the ring power-up. Now I'm using the laser power-up. So if I die right now, I lose the laser, and that's it. My ring power-up still stays at the same level. My missile still stays at the same level. So it's good to try to have every weapon powered up, and sort of have a bit of a safety net for when you do die. Because you'll probably die. It's BURAI Fighter. It's a tough game. Enemies can just catch you off guard completely. And I'm not really rushing in for a lot of the power-ups, as you can see. I just don't want to get close to the edge of the screen. The big reason being, as you can see, a lot of the enemies are just... they just come in from the sides of the screen. Like, that was risky right there. I took a risk to do that. Not really worth the risk, but now you can see my ring power-up is actually maxed out completely. So like I said, three-way shot, one way, behind shot, singular shot, another way. So let's go ahead and try to work on getting our missiles powered up. The laser is actually the most powerful weapon in the game. But the missile is still really good as well, and the ring power-up has its uses. We're probably going to be using the ring power-up on the final boss in the game. It just seems to work really well for the final boss. See, if I had the ring power-up right now, I could have shot through that ceiling above me and could have taken out those red guys. Those red guys are actually kind of a pain. You got to watch out for them. And you'll witness what their main attack is on the final stage in the game. Alright, so we got our missiles powered up completely. The good thing about the missile is that it always does a four-way shot. And it stays this way, no matter which way you're aiming. So that's one of the benefits over the laser power-up. When you're using the laser power-up, like so, the direction of the lasers will actually change depending on, which way you're aiming. And it really seems to be inconsistent. Like now it's diagonal, but for a moment there it was going in a four-way direction, so really makes no sense. Alright, so this part can be pretty tough. You gotta watch out for these falling rocks of sort. And they just constantly loop from the top to the bottom. And they trigger the second you go underneath them, so you gotta watch out for that. I'm gonna go ahead and just keep this power up. Actually, no, we'll switch... Oh, actually, I should have actually... Nah, yeah, see, look, now it's going in a four-way direction, not diagonally. So the laser is just kind of odd. So, as you saw there, the boss just, like, he was just like, oh, I'm just kind of chill, whatever, you can just shoot me. And then he just, like, flew across the screen really quickly. Bosses have a tendency of doing that in this game, which makes the bosses in BURAI Fighter very erratic. And trust me, like, the first time you play this game, they will catch you off guard. They'll just completely catch you off guard. So it looks like my circular power-up is actually really fast now. It seems like... And I don't know if I'm just picking this up now, or maybe it just hasn't been doing this. You guys will probably be able to tell a little bit easier as passive observers. It feels like, you know, since I've gotten multiple, like, option power-ups, like the little spiked ball, it feels like it's going around me faster now. And I don't know if that's an effect of me picking up multiple ones. I haven't really been paying that much attention to it. Alright, so there's going to be like a troll moment up here. There's going to be this guy on the other side of the screen that just jets all the way across the screen right to you once he sees you. Wow, and he didn't spawn. That was weird. Maybe I killed him before he spawned? That makes no sense. That's really odd. I've never seen him not spawn. So that was interesting. Oh! That was bad. You see, you've got to watch out for some of these enemies too. Like, these birds will just jump all the way to the top of the screen. And they'll catch you off guard. And unfortunately, with dying, I lost my power-up meter. Yeah, I mean, so, even on the easiest skill mode, things are going to catch you off guard in this game. There's a lot of shoot-em-ups out there where if you play in the easiest skill mode, you're probably not going to have much of a problem. But BURAI Fighter just likes to troll you, basically, with the enemy patterns, the, you know, how the enemies act. You know, there's multiple types of enemies in this game that just jump all the way to the top of the screen, when you would never guess them to, basically. Also, there's, like I said, there's lots of power-ups that just appear on the sides of the screen. You go to pick them up, enemies just appear out of nowhere, because that's what they like to do in this game. You've got enemies that just charge straight for you. The one in particular I wanted to show you, for some reason, didn't spawn, but you'll see a couple right before the end of the game. The ring power-up is actually a nice one to have right now. You can shoot through the walls. Pick things off from a distance. So I had to go down here to the left, but of course, enemies just spawned right where I needed to go. And again, right there, I needed to go down, but enemies just spawned. There's just very trollish enemy placement in this game. So part of BURAI Fighter's basic difficulty is different than a lot of other shoot-em-ups. A lot of shoot-em-ups don't really necessarily try to troll you, like, hardcore. Alright, and so for this boss, you need to avoid these spikes that go all the way across the screen, and then the actual boss itself appears. Unfortunately... Ooh! Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I was going to say, unfortunately, I'm not really powered up right now, because I selected the missile power-up. But this at least gives us an option to switch over to, say, the laser, like so. Now, your little, desperation bomb attack that you can do, I don't think it actually damages, bosses or really, really large enemies. I think it only clears out bullets and tiny little popcorn enemies. Basically, popcorn enemies and shmups are usually referred to as those little enemies that you can just, destroy very quickly, like one shot or something like that. So building up your bomb meter doesn't really seem to do a whole lot for bosses themselves. Now the final boss, there is a bit of a gimmick on that level, where the final boss will actually spit out enemies at you that are really strong enemies. And they can actually only be destroyed with your bomb attack, which I think that's really one of the only parts of the game where it's like that. So one thing you can actually do on these levels is these enemies constantly spawn. They never stop. And you can actually grind out. You can try to grind out your power-ups here. I'm not going to. I'm going to actually try to pick up the ring power-up. And the boss is supposed to be in the top left-hand portion of the screen, so we're going to go up there. And look, there he is. And now he's not. But now he's just directly up. But this is actually kind of bad, because I think we're getting close to the end of the game. And I'm not really that powered up right now. But we've got a lot of lives to burn, so you know, what the heck. Let's just go ahead and grind out a little bit. I will admit the ring power-up isn't exactly the best right here. Because while, you know, powered up, it will go in at least 2 different directions. It's not that, it doesn't attack that fast. Like, look at the laser, it's just constantly out. There's really no excuse to die when you're on this level when you got your maxed out laser. But when you've got, say, the ring power-up, it's not quite as good, unfortunately. Look at how slow it comes out compared to, say, the missile or the lasers. Oh, we did it again. See, the ring is just so slow. I was relying on the backward shot. All right, so we're gonna just say screw that and go ahead and kill this guy the normal way. We're going to go ahead and get just one more power for the missile. There we go. 4-way shot. Now, we might actually want to just switch over to the ring for... The good thing about the ring power-up is you don't have to actually go inside the boss to, you know, clear out those last couple of orbs that are in there. You can actually shoot from the outside. But, of course, you run the risk of... you know, getting slammed into by another enemy. And that's it. So, you know, I'm not really a big fan of these top-down levels. I feel they just really, I mean, they mix up the gameplay, but BURAI Fighter didn't really need the formula to be mixed up. I think, the side-scrolling levels are just so much more enjoyable. And hey, we're actually on the final level already. But yeah, I feel these levels are just so much more enjoyable. I wish they just focused more on these and didn't really force the top-down sections down our throats. I understand hindsight's 2020. It was probably really cool back in the day. I probably wouldn't have cared about them, but now when I play the game, I kind of wish that it was just all side-scrolling. I think the game would have been a little bit more enjoyable if that was the case. Because we're on the final level, and honestly, it feels like we haven't had enough of this type of gameplay style. Because a small little chunk of the game was, you know, for those top-down levels. Now I'm probably gonna... Yeah, I knew I was gonna die when I went there. I like taking the right-hand path. Like, the left-hand path tries to bait you in with some power-ups, but it's really not worth it. So these, like, red, whatever the hell you call them, types of things, look at how high they jump up on the screen. So kind of like those black dodo bird-looking things. You've got to watch out for these guys, too. They're really dangerous. And they also take a lot of hits with your main shot. They're a little tough to deal with if you're not powered up, like so. Alright, we'll just go ahead and stick with the laser for now. And there's going to be actually a power-up up here. But, again, the game likes to troll you. So if you didn't grab the power up fast enough, you wouldn't have been able to make it back to the path that you actually had to go to. You would have gotten crushed by one of the walls. That's also one thing I don't really care for about this game, is how much it likes to troll you. It's a little annoying, to say the least. Alright, so let's just sit back, because I knew that guy was going to go all the way to the top of the screen. Let's try to get down here, because enemies are probably going to come out from the sides. Yep. So, in this game, you can always expect them to come out from the sides. Alright, so I just picked up the laser power. It wasn't really necessary, but... what I should be doing is actually trying to upgrade my ring power-up. I guess it's actually not going to really matter that much, because... yeah, it's not going to matter that much. I am going to have to upgrade to my ring power-up regardless, though. And now, that wasn't a good place to do it. Alright, so we're on the final stretch, actually. These are the guys that just want to bolt across the screen. You can sort of, like, bait them into a wall like that. Just like I did. So, you kind of just... I'm going to pause it. Sit like... well, I can't pause it. But you could just sort of, like, sit halfway. And I had a feeling that was going to happen because I triggered all of those blocks at the same time. You don't want to trigger all of them at the same time. Okay, so now this is going to be a pain. But, again, bait these guys. Notice how I'm, like, kind of, like... half above this wall and half not. Okay, so basically dying there just made this part a whole lot harder. Because I actually had a decent amount of my special meter. Which is really important for this final boss coming up here in just a few moments. And we've got one more life as well. And I need the ring power up now. Now, when you get a game over, you have to do the whole level over again. So. Alright, and I've got 3 bombs to work with. Alright, so now this boss, you've got to shoot him in the mouth. It's basically a 45-degree angle upwards. And you've got to watch out for the 2 projectiles he shoots out. You need to dodge them, and then at the right time, when it comes to it, use your bombs to destroy them. Now the reason the ring power-up is really good here, because... see, that was bad. I didn't want to use 2 back-to-back. I didn't want to use my 3rd one back-to-back either. The boss is just a major pain. But at least I got an extra life from it. Alright. Now, the hardest part about this checkpoint right before the final boss, if you die, and I don't think I've actually ever done it without dying, sadly. Every time I think I'm good, like I'm maxed out on firepower, I do something stupid. I get hit by one of those boulders, I forget about the guys that dash right to me, or I get hit by one of the boss's boulders, unfortunately. And it's very... like I said, the hitboxes are kind of large in this game, and I just wasted a bomb, unfortunately. And the hitboxes are a little bit large, it's easy to die when it doesn't look like you should have died. And that was common for several NES shoot-'em-ups back in the day, unfortunately. Sky Shark was another prime example of that. Much worse than this, but this game, it's still kind of noticeable. You will notice it the more you play this game. Almost seems like sitting at the bottom of the screen helps a little bit. Helps these things just kind of home around you. Oh, you see, that didn't look like... Yeah, that wouldn't have killed me in a more modern shoot-'em-up. It, like, grazed my helmet, and I died. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about in this game, with the hitboxes. Okay, this is actually kind of bad. Yeah, we got a game over. So we gotta do it all over again. We gotta do the whole stage. And the shame is I lost all my power-ups, too. So, on the Eagle mode, which is the easiest skill mode in the game, you get 4 lives to start off, it looks like. If you played on the Ace mode, you only get 2 lives. So, technically, I guess you could say it's harder to get through these stages. On the hardest skill modes. Just from, like, a lives perspective. You have less chances to do it. Before you get shot right back to the beginning, unfortunately. So, take the right-hand path. And at this point, I'm, got my finger hovering on the bomb attack, just like that. Because I knew I was probably going to get crushed. Or if I didn't get crushed, the enemies were going to just snipe me. One of the other things about this game is I do wish the graphics were a little more intricate. A lot of the backgrounds are very basic. You know, like the walls and so forth. They've always got this kind of like weird, squarish, rectangular nature with slightly rounded edges. And it's a very common theme throughout the course of the game. And I kind of wish, like, there was more to the backgrounds themselves, or, like, the backgrounds were more interesting. Like, another shooter that came out, sort of like in a similar era, was Life Force, and I feel like Life Force is a much more interesting game to look at. And while it didn't do anything, like, insane... Like, you just go through a wider variety of environments in that game. Like, there's a stage where the floors and ceilings are just completely made up of fire, and it just looks really cool. And you've got these blazing flames that just come out. It's cool stuff. Granted, the Japanese Gradius 2 really upped the ante in the graphics department for NES shoot-'em-ups. So it's kind of disappointing to see that BURAI Fighter it's kind of basic in certain regards. I mean, the second level actually looks pretty cool, with the sort of like organic walls and ceilings and so forth. But a lot of the other levels are just very blocky and basic, and not a whole lot going on visually, so... Good thing about bombing these things is they typically drop your power-up pickups. Or your little, little orbs, or whatever you call them, to upgrade your, to build your bombs. This dude takes so many hits, too. That's one of the big things that's challenging about this guy, is you go through all the other bosses in the game, and they just fall down like that. But this guy takes a long time to kill. You have to hit him in a very specific spot, in a very specific direction. And, that's our amazing ending. Great fight, warrior, and Ace would see a graphic ending. I'm not sure what finishing it on Albatross will do, which is the second difficulty mode. But Ace is the hardest, and apparently you only get a graphic ending if you play it on the hardest skill mode. So that is BURAI Fighter, guys. If we hit start, it actually just throws us in, I believe, to the next difficulty mode. It doesn't tell you which difficulty mode it is. I'm assuming it's Albatross, but we're not going to be playing that. We're going to stop the Let's Play here. Geez, that took us 40 minutes. That's because I died all those times. But yeah, that's BURAI Fighter. It's a cool shooter. I'm not sure if I really love it, but I can recommend it if you're into NES shoot 'em ups. I'm not sure if it's an expensive game now. I know. Geez, I can't even talk right now, man. Like I just got off work. It was a 10-hour shift, and I'm just dead tired. And here I can't talk at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I do know that it used to be cheap. I'm not sure what the prices are these days. I didn't really look into it. Also, I believe there's a Game Boy version of this game, so I'm not really sure how that version holds up. But the NES one's kind of cool. If you like NES shmups, give it a try. I'd say it's definitely better than a lot of the shooters in the system. I think it's aged better, but it is very trollish, like with enemy placements, how the hitboxes work. It's just, it can be very trollish at times, and that can be frustrating. But once you learn the stage layouts and so forth, it's not that bad. But if you do want a legit challenge, playing it on the hardest difficulty mode, it is actually difficult. Maybe I'll be able to do that someday. Maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap things up here, guys. I want to say thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I've got a lot of Let's Plays on here and many more to come. To everybody else subbed, thanks for the continued support as usual. And I hope you guys still enjoy these videos. Yeah, I'm out, guys. I'll see you soon, and take it easy.